Hi, everybody, and welcome to the video and live streaming show. My name's John Lacey, and I'm joined, as always, by Sam Proof. We have had some technical issues earlier today, so apologies if that intro was particularly tragic. But anyway, today on the show, we are answering your video and live streaming questions. So if you do have some, if you're joining us live in the chat, let us know what they might be. And, you know, as always, I like to try and push this thing, which is hashtag Team Live if you're joining us live, or hashtag Team Replay if you're watching this later on, and I know a number of people do, but it has been, I feel like every day is Blur's Day and every week is just a blur, and I don't even know what happened in the last week, Sam, but how are you? Let me just check in with that first.
Yeah, I'm about the same. Like, I have a million things going on as I get ready for Cute Avalanche's 5th Super Bowl. I've been like, but I've been so like, I don't want to work on all the things, but I have to work on all the things and trying to apply for jobs and all of these things. And I, beyond all of that, have no idea what else has happened this week. So that's about it.
And a
How's
big hello
everything with
to
you?
Saeed
Hey,
in the
Saeed.
chat, who's saying I sound a little bit like Darth Vader, and it seems like we might be having some audio issues, and I've tried everything under the sun to try to resolve those, but I actually can't hear what you're hearing, so it's very, very strange. But we're going to try and battle through. We're recording this in a whole bunch of different ways, so if necessary, you might need to come back and watch the replay for the full experience, but we'll try and do what we can. Okay, so let's get stuck into our questions. Let's do this thing. Turn off the overlay. So today we are answering video and live streaming questions to the extent that we're able to. But if you've got questions about anything at all, throw it in the chat and let me know. You know what you'd like to learn more about. And hello to CG, who's joining us as well. Thank you for your company. Let's get stuck into some of these questions. So first of all, this one came from, I think, one of the StreamYard Facebook groups. So can I automatically switch to the featured speaker on StreamYard? The short answer to this is no. Like, there's no capacity to do this automatically. What you can do instead, though, is sort of do this manually. And there are a couple of different ways that you can try to do this. And I would suggest the second way works better than the first. I mean, obviously, if you hover over, if you've spent any time in StreamYard, you know you've got the solo layout, so you can physically come over and click on this. This will take the featured speaker or whoever and just make them full screen. But the other thing that Sam and I like to do, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out how this would work, but you can go in and make your own custom layouts. And what we've done is we've got a couple of layouts here. One of them's called Sam Tabbed, and that just moves Sam into the main part of our tab section. It doesn't fill the entire screen because that was a choice that we made. And there's also John Tabbed. And the thing about this is you can't really nominate, if you've only got a single camera section on one of these layouts, you can't really nominate who goes into which. So my workaround for that was to actually put both of our cameras there, but have one underneath the other. And this works pretty well. The only thing I would say is just let other people know that if you are, you know, even if you're not on screen, you might still be on camera. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. Do you have any thoughts on that one, Sam?
I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah, StreamYard itself does not have any sort of recognition of like this camera is talking or producing the most audio right now. So there's no real automated aspect to that. Talking or producing the most audio right now. The other thing you can do is just, I don't know, is this what you actually said at the very start, which is to hit the solo layout on top of the specific camera instead of the first? There's also a solo layout scene, which is if you do the default hotkey is Shift 1, but then there's that randomness of, am I going to get the right person on there?
I could be wrong, but I think when you go Shift 1, that puts you as the person who presses the keyboard shortcut or presses the button as the featured person. So, okay, no, I stand corrected. In this case, it's literally just me, but It's one of the quirky things about StreamYard is that the thing and it took me a while to figure this out myself, but the thing I kind of encourage you to do is go into the settings, and I'll do this in real time, although I can't show you. There is a layouts tab in there. Go in and deselect any of those that you don't want to use in your stream, because there's a really good chance that by default, you'll add an extra source to your scene and it'll just pop into something else and you'll be like, I wasn't really ready for that. There is also in the general section an automatically add shared screens / videos to stream. I'd probably encourage most people to turn that off, because wait until you're ready to bring something onto the canvas and sort of go from there would be my recommendation. The other thing too, though, is if you do want to really, not necessarily live, but if you do want to sort of edit this, you can always save your different speakers as their own sort of individual recordings in StreamYard, and you can bring that into something like DaVinci Resolve, and you can do a multi-camera edit pretty easily with some keyboard shortcuts. So those are a couple of options that you can work with. Let's go to our second question here. So what's the difference between OBS Studio and StreamYard or Restream Studio, Sam? What do you think about this one?
Sure. I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out. But yeah, basically StreamYard and Restream both offer you a service that is based in a browser. So you're going to access that through whatever your browser are. From what I know, the best experience usually is Chrome for both of them, I believe. And they give you, some pre-created scenes and the ability to invite guests, which is great. It's super easy to, like, if you've never streamed before, jump on either StreamYard or Restream Studio and really just jump into it. And they give you all the things you can need. You want lower thirds, they have that. You have the ability to put images and videos on and feature chat and stuff from your chat window so that you can reply to comments live. Whereas OBS is a much more customizable broadcast experience. It gives you a lot more options. If you can think of it, you can do it, where you will run into limitations with StreamYard and Restream if you are that kind of person that's like always pushing the boundaries. Restream itself, however, outside of Restream Studio, offers, I should have said that StreamYard and Restream both offer multicasting. So Restream also offers that sort of multicasting and a few other services like their chatbot tangentially with OBS Studio. Like, you can use those together and not have to go into Restream Studio. That being said, you could do an entire broadcast setup inside of OBS, use the virtual camera, and then use either Restream Studio or StreamYard and have a pretty fancy looking stream that goes multicast anywhere you want. That does end up presenting some delays, and especially with StreamYard, eventually an audio video sync issue. So that is the shortest answer I'm willing to give.
I would probably simplify it even more, and apologies to everybody because I did just hear myself on the YouTube stream. It is very, very distorted and I have no idea why, but we're going to try and just get it through it. I guess in some ways in StreamYard, for example, like we've got backgrounds, we've got overlays, we've got comments and banners. But the thing is, you kind of need to trigger each one of these one at a time. So often on this show, like I'll play one of our video promos, and that's kind of the thing that frees me up to change the background image to get ready to press the next URL that's coming up. And sort of bring those sorts of things in there as well. So and to be honest, I know the StreamYard people, they're very open to feedback, but they're also trying to create an experience that's very simple for beginners. And the more I think some of the advanced users push back on them, the more they have to sort of make a choice about whether to make it potentially more complex and customizable, or just to sort of embrace the constraints. So I think that's the the trade-off there, and I think it's important to consider. So Saeed's got a comment here. So for guests, I use Video Ninja because I don't want another subscription like StreamYard, which I will barely use. I know Sam mentioned he uses Video Ninja. Any arguments to consider StreamYard instead? Again, I think a lot of this comes down to who you are and your level of technical capability. So, Saeed, I know, has no problem in OBS land and is probably very happy with video. In some ways, it's just a much easier experience, but I was going to say it's a paid experience. There is a free version, but it will have sort of StreamYard branding plastered all over it. So it's
Right.
really more ease of use. And if you are sort of happy to use what you're using, I certainly don't think there'd be a problem there. I guess I would be sort of curious how you find people that are maybe less technically savvy, Saeed, in terms of being on the other end of that transaction in video. Yes, Craig, we know all about it, and there's really not a lot I can do.
know.
I'm sorry.
I want to jump on the Video Ninja thing here really quick. I actually did a tech test once for like a streaming game show, and I used Video Ninja. A tech test
to
once
do
our
our
call-ins and all of that. And we had like 3 or 4 different people on at any given time, and they opted to use StreamYard instead. And this was the big difference. Well, you know, while I find that both experiences are easy enough to set up, video is a little more complex because you are creating those sources inside of OBS and stuff. But the bigger issue was when it comes time to actually doing the stream and having, you know, people cross talking, if the person OBS doesn't have just awesome internet, they're gonna have issues that present to the other people on that sort of call. Whereas StreamYard kind of takes that load at that point. So it could be a better experience if anyone in that circle kind of has like crappier internet, especially the person doing the stream itself. So.
I think that's fair. Look, Sam, I'm going to restart my computer and see if I can join you again in a moment, but I'm sorry for that.
All right.
I'll see everybody shortly.
Okay. All right. I will take over for John as I have to see what he has set up in here. So many teleprompter questions. I might jump around if this is the way it is, but where's this one? The next one that we're supposed to do right now, I don't see on here. And might as well make me bigger, I suppose. Oh no, we have this one for me. Look at that. I haven't run the show in a while. I don't see this question in here, and I don't want to do the teleprompter stuff because that's all John, really. So I'm going to add this real quick. And I don't know where this one came from, but it is. How can I design backgrounds / overlays around a layout? Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to this question that I need to know. Like, are we doing OBS? Are we doing StreamYard, etc.? But real quick and easy, you can do this in any, both, you know, image editing software or even video editing software. So I personally, you know, would do something like this in Photoshop, or now that I don't pay for my Creative Suite, in Canva, even to create like a static PNG kind of thing like this. I think John uses Microsoft Designer or PowerPoint to lay out this. For StreamYard and Restream, yeah, if you're doing an image background like this, it would be a PNG. For OBS, yeah, it would be a PNG. I think it can pretty much any of the major formats, JPEG or GIF as well. I don't know why you would want a JPEG to be your background if it's an actual layout, as opposed to like a funny, haha, I'm on the beach, but I'm green screened kind of thing. If you're doing video, that is something that is new to StreamYard. I don't know that Restream has this ability, but you can do animated backgrounds in StreamYard. I believe they have to be .moves. They might have to be .mp4s. They're really restrictive on how many file types they can use. With OBS, it's pretty much anything goes. MKV, I think you can get an AVI in there. So yeah, I'm going to go back to addressing chat questions since I think John's on his way back in. And Saeed follows up with... Let's switch. Check out Meshcast based Video Ninja Creator. It reduces load. Okay, and then he did that again, but slightly different. Okay, so load. Yeah, I haven't seen Meshcast, so I will see what that does. Cool. All right.
Okay, I'm hoping I'm back, and I'm hoping you can hear me.
It's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same. Okay.
Hey, I'm hoping.
I don't know.
Go to promo.
Oh dear. Let's audio.
Are you messing with the StreamYard audios?
I am, yeah. I don't know. Is that worse?
It's very loud, but clearer, but louder.
I'm sorry, everybody. I don't think this is going to work today, and I haven't missed a show in years at this point, and I'm just so frustrated. So I'm really sorry, but I don't know if this is going to continue. I don't know if Sam wants to do it by himself.
Yeah, hang on.
But I'm sure it's excruciating for anybody. Yeah. In fact, I just literally heard it on YouTube, and it's atrocious. I don't understand what has actually changed, because it's like nothing has changed recently. So it is really, really unfortunate. So
it's bearable. I pulled your audio down in StreamYard, and it's more better. Guys, it's more better. I don't know. Tell me if it's more better. Better. Business Growth says, guys, it's more sound setting with, I don't know. Tell me if it's more and back again. Yeah. I think that's switch mic and back again.
I don't understand what has actually changed.
And then go back to this mic. Maybe. I mean, you could try that and then do that in StreamYard as well if it doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's the troubleshooting show, gang. Name a car for an edit. What does that even mean?
Okay, I do notice that the input on my microphone was sort of at 100 on Windows, so I don't know if that's any better to your ears. I'm guessing by the look on your face.
Okay, this is better.
This is better?
I had to turn you up now.
All right.
Can we get a consensus? Is that good, everybody? Yeah. Now.
Sorry. One of those classic Windows made a change on me.
Perfect. You're good. Let's push on. Well, you need to talk more.
One of those classic Windows made a change.
Business Growth says something Windows update change mic levels to 100%. Yeah. Awesome. Good to know, because I'm going to be updating soon. Cool.
Thank you for that. So that's yet another thing to add to our list of things to check. Hello to Ender Trading. Like, sorry everybody, it's been such a chaotic start to the show, and like we're just like, honestly, let's just hang out and answer a few questions and share some wisdom. I think it's not going to be the greatest one in the world that we've done, but let's just roll with it. So I don't know, like Sam, I don't know if you answered. I think he had a question when I came back about designing overlays. Or did I
did that one.
You did that one. Okay. All right. Awesome.
Overlays. So I'm finished with tab 1. We can
go to cool. Let's go to a promo. Let's look at some kittens.
Right.
They won't malfunction in the way that I do. So we'll come back in a second.
I hope this is soup. Are you ready for the 5th annual Super Bowl, brought to you by Cute Avalanches, just around the corner, and we're thrilled to have you joining us for the special event. This year taking the field will be Otis, Eric, Amy, Ruby, Ola, and Maeve, with Coach Jean, the mama cat, watching from the sidelines and running the milk bar. This family of 7 were saved from the East Valley Animal Shelter in Los Angeles, California, and have been under our care since the babies were a mere 5 days old. And they're here with us just in time for the Super Bowl. At Cute Avalanche, our mission is to help support our local feline friends in need, and we're so proud to say that we have fostered over 180 cats and kittens, including several TNR missions, to help control the feline population in our area. We've also helped foster 1 dog. We've got 2 baby squirrels into other people's foster care, and last year we fostered our first one-eyed cat, immediately followed by our first fully blind cat, Monet. And we couldn't do it without the support support of our amazing viewers like you, the Kitten Crew. Our goal for this year is to foster upward of 36 cats and kittens, which will take us over 200 cats that we have fostered in our lifetime, specifically kittens under 8 weeks old that the shelters don't have the staff to care for and are frequently the first to be euthanized. So sit back, grab some treats, and get ready to be entertained by some of the cutest and cuddliest felines around. The Super Bowl starts February 11th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, because we can't do this without you. Your support and views help raise awareness to the work we're doing. So please share the link to our event, post it on your social media, and invite your friends and family to join us. You can even create your own watch parties. The main event runs about 2 hours, but the stream will be up for the entire 24 hours, letting you cheer on your favorite team of kittens with on-screen scores activated by your donations, which go toward food, litter, supplements, nutrients, toys, and so much more. You won't want to miss it, and you can get in on the caction early, right meow, by pre-donating through superbowl.com to receive a special tailgate perk with donation tiers that range from $1 to $50. We can't wait to see you on Twitch, YouTube, or your favorite streaming platform for the Super Bowl.
And that's a bit of a promo for the Super Bowl, and we have to pronounce that very carefully for legal reasons.
Yes.
But if you want to learn more about that and all the great Cute Avalanche stuff, head over to cuteavalanche.com. So this is the video and live streaming show. My name's John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof. Today we're answering live streaming and video questions. One of those seems to be just double check the volume that Microsoft Windows has set your devices at, because that can ruin everything. And a big thank you to our friend in the chat, Business Growth Ready, for pointing that out to me, because Windows changes itself all the time, and it's the bane of my existence. But let's move on. Let's move on to some happier things and answer some more questions. If you've got some, throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so this question actually came via the StreamYard town hall meeting, and I've kind of condensed it a little bit, but using a teleprompter, how can I work with stream comments? So the thing about StreamYard, and we've kind of already alluded to this, it's relatively straightforward. Everything's there in a single browser tab. And it's really easy to work with the comments that are provided. But the problem is, in some ways, you can't change how they appear. And you know, I've actually got the whole StreamYard experience happening on one of my larger screens, but also in my teleprompter monitor as well. And that's great. I mean, I can see Sam really clearly. I can see what's happening in the show, but the comments are really, really tiny. So in some ways, that's not ideal, but I kind of want to give you some ideas to think about if you do want to apply this to StreamYard, and even some of the other options you have sort of outside of StreamYard. So first of all, I mean, and I'm surprised by how many people don't know this is a thing, but most web browsers actually give you some zoom controls. So often you can just go Control plus or Control minus, and it'll shuffle how these things look. You are kind of at the mercy of individual websites to see what that looks like. So sometimes that will improve things. Sometimes it'll make them harder to see. Another thing that's worth considering is a lot of a lot of operating systems have their own magnifying tools built into them. So Windows 11 certainly has a magnifier system. It is something that you probably will need to adjust the settings of and get used to, because it's quite dramatic, and I don't know that it's always the greatest idea, but it's certainly something. There are even sort of browser extensions for magnifying glasses as well, but outside of and again, you can sort of adjust the settings of those as you like. But outside of that, one of the reasons I really, and I don't get me wrong, I love StreamYard. I really think it's a great product, but I do like that Restream actually has its own standalone subdomain for chats of your stream. So I think it's chat.restream.io. And whether you're doing stuff in Restream Studio, whether you're going via OBS or some third-party tool, you can actually have these in a separate browser. You can increase the size of that. You can move them around. Also, I just want to mention the Elgato prompter has its own software built into it that lets you wrangle comments even more. And I haven't personally had the experience of using one of those yet, but it does look really, really intriguing. So I guess those are just a few things that I would encourage people to think about. I mean, certainly if you do have a compelling use case for having the comments show up somewhere else, or in a more prominent way, reach out to the company that makes the software and suggest it and see if they're open to that. I feel like I've been talking quite a lot now, Sam, but let's go to a live question actually from Saeed. Yep. So answering comments live in the chat versus answering them after the stream. Any thoughts? I have thoughts, but you, Sam, you go ahead.
Sure. So, I think part of this answer is based on what it is you're doing with your stream, what your plans are for the stream, and, and that might guide you to the answer you need. For me, if you're choosing to live stream, then you're doing this on an immediately interactive platform. If you don't want to be answering questions and comments live, maybe you don't need to be live in the first place. Maybe you just want to do a podcast. Maybe you just want to do videos. I think the whole beauty of live streaming is immediate interaction. That being said, maybe you have small segments where you're like, I'm going to do this quick thing. Like I have to do a promo, or I want to do a short segment that I use for my video later. And, people understand that if you're doing it under I think he's changed the question on us, under a podcast premise, then you probably don't want to have breaks like that specifically laid out where you're like, guys, I'm going to take a minute to do something else, and then we'll come back and I'll answer your questions. But maybe. I want to see what this new thing is. I meant written answers in the chat. Oh, so as opposed to me talking to you, me typing back to you. And sometimes I'll do that. But yeah, again, that seems like an immediate thing. If we're still in that, if that's still the context of this.
It actually depends a little bit on the platform, the destination that you're streaming to too, because I can't really go into YouTube after the event has ended and interact with the live comments in the same way that I can with people that watch after the show had finished. But on LinkedIn, I can actually go in and reply to everybody. And the thing I like about LinkedIn, it's not really a chat system. It's much more a comment system. And because of that, I can include screenshots. I can include links. I can get really specific and granular with questions and answers. So it really does depend on what you're doing and sort of what the platform actually allows you to do. But often, like, I guess the other thing too is, and again, I'm drawing on my LinkedIn experience here a little bit, but if somebody has a question and I've answered it in the body of the stream, I still think it's often useful to summarize that in the comments, even if the person that asked it has heard the answer. Somebody else might want to just glance at that and get the gist of it without just potentially watching the whole thing again. So, I mean, it depends on your capacity to actually wrangle with these things in terms of time and energy. But I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point because, most of my experience is platforms that don't really present the same way that LinkedIn does. So, yeah, if you do have the ability for it to be kind of a dynamic comment after the fact, then yeah, by all means, I think I would answer it live, but also go in after the stream and be like, here's that link I was talking about, and or here's a little more on that answer, because I mean that only helps, right?
Yeah. And I must admit, I haven't had a lot of luck with this. I don't know if it's my phone or my YouTube account, but in theory, you should be able to reply to standard video comments via a short. That's never worked for me ever, but I love the idea of it. And I think sometimes if somebody, and again, this is kind of after the live is finished, but if someone has left the traditional comments and you've already answered in the video, but maybe you can take, the 59-second answer and actually have it as a standalone comment, a standalone piece of content that relates to that comment, and potentially call that person out and say, hey, thanks for the question. Here we go. So, I mean, there are all kinds of things.
I literally got a question on Cute Avalanche the other day where I was like, I am going to finally try exactly this. So I'll let you know how it goes, hopefully next week.
Okay, awesome. I must admit, I reached out to, I think, the YouTube support on Twitter, and like they just gave me no joy whatsoever. So anyway, those are a few things to consider. Another thing I wanted to, and this doesn't really relate to a question, but I just found this during the week and I thought it was really, really cool. There's a website called obsteleprompter.com. It's just a teleprompter app. I know it has OBS in the title, so it's already terrifying some of you, but you don't even need OBS to actually use it. Like, it is just a teleprompter app. So if you have a physical teleprompter, even if you just have your webcam in the general vicinity of your monitor, this is a really great thing that you can go in and play with. You can copy and paste the text that you want to read out, or even just your bullet points. But the great thing about this that I really loved is you can sort of pick another application to have as the underlay. So you'll have the text on top of something. So whether you're doing a live show and you want to see StreamYard or OBS in the background, whether you're doing a meeting and you want to hit your points, but you also want to make sure you're seeing the facial expressions of the people that are also on the call. It's really cool. I mean, there are options to upgrade, and I think it does have some specific OBS integrations, but they actually weren't anything I was particularly interested in. So you can pay for additional features, but I just wanted to mention that. That was really, really rather nifty. Speaking of OBS and comments, how can I get LinkedIn comments into OBS Studio? So this is such a weird little beast, and I don't know, Sam, if we've even spoken about this in the past, but the approach I kind of want to recommend with this, and it's funny, I've written an entire article on my website about how to do this, and I recorded a video, but I don't think I ever published it. So I should probably get around to doing that at some point. But there's this great Ninja social stream chat widgets, which is literally a browser widget that you can use. And for a lot of video destinations, you can literally just pop out the YouTube comments or whatever. LinkedIn doesn't work that way. So there's yet an additional step if you want to play with LinkedIn, and that is actually to go via Restream and then work with the Restream chat. So there's a number of different processes on how to do this. I'll just if you head over to johnlacey.com, I've kind of got an article on how all this works, but I'm just going to see if that's going to load in the background. And I'm going to try and I should probably be careful that doing some of these things live, but in fact, sure enough, it's not going to work. Give me 1 second. Okay, so if you head over to johnlacey.com, there's this article about using the Social Stream Ninja, and it's not massively difficult. You download and install a Google Chrome extension. You'll get some code to use to dock the chat. And again, all the steps are here on the website. You can go and check that out. You can test it with a chat, but essentially it's just a browser source. And when you click on the list from the chat comments over here, they'll appear on your scene if you set that up correctly. So there's also the ability to add the entire OBS, the entire chat widget there, which some people really love, and like they don't want to do anything else. But I always find that a little bit risky because you never know when someone's going to pop on stream and say something offensive. So just keep that in mind. But certainly, the only trick with that is you really do need to go through Restream. Unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to work with any other service. But if that is important to you, if you do want to combine LinkedIn and OBS specifically, that's certainly a way of doing that.
Yeah, and and the other way, I mean, if you don't, for some reason, you just don't want to do Restream, the only other way I could think to do it would be even sloppier, which is to just do like a display capture or window capture inside of OBS and just you'd basically have to grab either a portion of the chat, which moves, so it may not be what you want, or you embed the whole chat through a browser window, which I'm not even positive that's going to work.
I know someone on LinkedIn that moved from Restream Studio to StreamYard, and they were so upset they couldn't have the entire chat that what they ended up doing was they would appear on webcam, but they actually they used OBS to capture the entire chat via the virtual camera and have that as another camera source underneath everything. It was a little convoluted, but that's weird. It's possible. I mean, Sayed is saying that the Ninja chat in LinkedIn works directly without the use of Restream Studio, which is cool. Maybe I need to retry that. I haven't had a lot of success with that. So maybe what I'm telling you isn't 100% true, but that's okay. We can certainly test these things out. I guess the other thing is Chrome, Google are changing how browser plugins and widgets work. So I believe Steve is working on sort of a standalone app as an alternative to that.
Yes.
So we'll just have to wait and see what that looks like when it comes out. But yeah. There's another question here. I'm just going to jump into it. So have either of you gone live on X yet? If so, how did that go? I haven't gone live on X in the traditional sense, but what I do with this show is that I will do it on YouTube and LinkedIn live, and then later the following week, I will actually have a replay on Facebook and X, or Twitter as I still probably call it. And in some ways, like, I don't think there's a lot of audience there for me particular. And the whole subtext for that is to say, this is not a great experience. Go subscribe to YouTube, join us over there instead. So, I mean, it's interesting, and you certainly can just watch the video that's there in your feed. If you click through, it does have its own little chat section. So I guess that's one thing that surprised me initially, was I kind of assumed that if I just replied to the thread of the live session, that would be factored into the chat, but it's not really how that works. It's its own separate little window. But I mean, it's certainly possible. Most of the platforms support it quite easily. I guess it really just depends if your audience is on that platform.
Yeah, I'll say that I've primarily the kitten cam has gone live on Twitter. I refuse to call it that. I haven't done any of my own. We may have done this stream once or twice on X. I've never seen it move the needle. Like, there's just no audience for any of my stuff over there, which is weird, because if I post something, I get responses. But anytime I do live for either of those channels, I don't see anything. It's just hidden.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, like, to be honest, try it out for, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, just to get a sense of it if anybody's out there. And it really does come back to your priorities a little bit. So just keep that in mind. You know, I think the great thing is we have so many options these days, and you can explore to your heart's content, that I guess don't try and do everything, because that's just a recipe for disaster. But let's come back and talk about captions in a sec. This is the video and live streaming show, and we hope you're enjoying it now that our technical issues are far away.
And then I looked at the first assessment, and the first assessment was record a 5-minute video, and it was a pretty simple introduction of yourself. There was nothing exciting. I didn't have to research. It was just a 5-minute warm-up, and I freaked out. That course is still sitting in the cupboard beside me. I see that stack of papers and I almost rock in the corner. It cost me a lot of money to sign up, and I threw the whole course away.
And that's a clip of Michelle J. Raymond speaking on my podcast, Build a Presentation Muscle, which you can learn more about over at johnlacey.com. She's actually speaking at Social Media Marketing World in a week or two. So it just goes to show how you can be scared to record a 5-minute intro video to taking on the entire world. And I kind of like to draw on that example, because I think it is really quite inspiring. So let's we're gonna tackle some more of these questions. Again, if you got comments or questions in the chat, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. If you are watching on LinkedIn Live, not all of the chat comments seems to reach us over there. So if you want to join us on YouTube, there's probably a better chance of us seeing that stuff. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to jump out of order a little bit, because this is a question that actually came from Sam. And I thought it was fascinating, because we have very different takes on this. So YouTube told me a certain number of viewers watch my content with captions on. Is this useful information to know? So and I think I've got a screenshot here. Let me just bring this up for you. So if you don't know, the YouTube app, it kind of has this weekly update, and it's got a little fun little quiz in there, and it asks you questions. For the week, I think of January 18th, it said, how many viewers watch your videos with subtitles or closed captions on? And on the left hand of this side of the screen, you'll see 6%, which was the number that Sam got. And on the right-hand side, you had 54%, which was actually my number. And Sam, I'll get you to speak to this a little bit, but I got the distinct impression you didn't think this was particularly useful information.
I feel like, I mean, yeah, I think it can be useful information, but there's so many other factors that I need to know that 6% is just like, I don't even know if I need to do the research on that. Like, who cares at that point? Like, like, I mean, are they watching on a mobile device? Are they watching on a television or a computer? Are they watching a video where I've already burned in closed captioning? But I think what's more useful is, because this poll was worded very specifically to our channel, like your channel, right? Watch your videos with subtitles or closed captions on. Tell me, how many viewers just watch with closed captions on? Are they specifically coming to my channel and turning them off? Do they watch with closed captions on other channels? Like, how many people are actively changing that setting constantly? It seems like a weird, like there's too many questions for me to answer to get use out of it.
Well, I mean, in some ways, and it was funny. And I remember, like, the reason I wanted to talk about this was because you and I had such different reactions to this information. And I was like, hell yeah, accessibility win. People are using the captions. I mean, yeah. But I guess, most people probably don't turn them on and off unless there's a really specific reason to do so. Right? It could be that not only are they watching captions, but maybe they're translated into a different language. There are people that are deaf. There are people that are hard of hearing. But I guess the other thing I kind of want to talk about is just the availability of those captions, because one of three things is going to happen when you upload a video to YouTube. There'll be no captions at all. Number two, you'll supply some captions. Or three, at some point in the future, and this happens at YouTube's pace, not your pace, there will be some automatically generated captions if the language you speak happens to be supported. So I guess for me, I don't generally go back and caption these shows because it's just an hour's worth of content. And it's just, even with a lot of the automated tools or semi-automated tools, it's just a lot of work. But every YouTube short, every sort of standalone video on demand VOD, I try to make sure that there are captions and I upload them and I include them there. And I guess one of the things that you mentioned before was the burnt on captions. They won't factor into this stat at all. So you kind of need to put them to one side. And it's interesting because YouTube supports real SRT files, so the real captions that you can go in and add there. Whereas Instagram, for example, has no capability whatsoever. It offers to sort of automatically generate them, and you don't know if they're any good or not. So that's a place where I always like to have something burnt on. But again, it's kind of a different functionality. But I guess really, I just want people to be, and there's probably no definitive right or wrong answer here, but I just want people to think about, there might be some people that need these because they physically can't hear, or maybe they don't speak your language, or maybe they speak your language as a second or third language and they're not particularly fluent, or Lord knows, I'm sure people are struggling with my Australian accent most weeks anyway. So that's a thing. But two, are you actually adding captions? And I know this is a lot of work potentially. And are you adding them with automated tools? Are you checking those for accuracy? Those are sort of some of the things I think are worth keeping in mind. So it is really, really sort of interesting, the different takes we had on that one. I guess let's just ever so briefly, we'll do another one of these caption questions. And again, this is another question with no definitive answer, but again, I think it's worthwhile thinking about it. So are automatically generated captions good enough? They can be, and sometimes they might have you say something that's wrong or silly, and sometimes that can be fun, sometimes that can be downright offensive. So I would encourage you, if you are using a lot of these things, to the extent that you're able to in terms of time and energy and resources, go in and just double check that those things are working the way that you expect them to. I mean, there's often nothing wrong with a funny mistranslation, but again, just make sure that you're not misleading people or just saying horrible, offensive things.
Yeah. I just want to make a note that I did a quick test on John's LinkedIn, and in fact, I was able to get Social Stream Ninja to recognize my LinkedIn chat, but it took me like several. I had to like click into the post and then once again to click into the stream to get to a point where it recognized the message. So yeah,
Okay.
you have to be like in the streams, like
All
not
right,
just
yeah.
viewing it through the post.
Okay, I mean that's really good information to know. So
But yeah,
maybe I
that's
need
cool.
to go back and update that article. But I have always found Restream chat to be really useful in that regard too. So let's. I think this is such an interesting question, and I know Sam started, so maybe I'll get him to speak to it first. But Walter asks, as a platform, do you believe X does not put much value on live streaming, but on other types of post activity?
Yeah, I don't think they put any value on live streams just yet. I think it's all very hidden and like they still prioritize spaces over video. But who knows? I mean, things are changing over there right now with this whole Mr. Beast video monetization thing. So maybe that's next in line. It doesn't seem like they care. I mean, they had Periscope and then they like kind of buried that. And then they were like, well, it's still here. It's just Twitter Live now, but it's still very buried. Like the Kitten Cam is live. Go try and find it. You can't even like go to the Cute Avalanche Twitter page and like find it easily. It's not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to. Obviously, there's a lot going on that platform culturally and in terms of development. I probably wouldn't put any of my eggs in that basket. And the only reason I'm still even using that platform is because I've used it for, I don't know, 15 years at this point, and I'm just used to it. And a part of me was hoping that an adult would step in and save it from the forces that be, but I just don't think that's on the cards anymore. So I'll probably stop using it when it inevitably shuts down. But right now, I don't think it's... The great thing about Twitter originally was that you had these short updates and they had to be 140 characters or fewer. And even that, like you can now pay for the ability to upload an essay as a single tweet. And I don't think it's as useful as what it was originally. And I think this scope creep of platforms happens everywhere, but I think there are other factors that make Twitter or X particularly unpalatable option right now. So I mean, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it either way if you want to throw things out there. And again, we're fortunate in the sense that we do have these multicasting tools, so you can go out there without an additional sort of issue. But yeah. Okay, so in terms of captions, and we've done entire shows on how to do this, but like, how can you create captions? There are all kinds of ways, and it depends a little bit on your platform and your tools and technology. Certainly on YouTube, you can upload a video. You can actually go in and type them in manually. If you've got a text file, you can upload that, and it'll attempt to match the timing. And you can certainly go in and do that as well. I've actually been using a tool called Happy Scribe for the longest time, which I got as an AppSumo deal years and years ago. It can do transcripts, and it can also sort of do video in that way. You can actually export the videos with these burnt on, or you can get the SRT file. So that's a tool that I've really enjoyed using. I must admit, I don't currently create as much standalone video as I did. Just because I don't have the time or the energy right now. There's just so much going on in my world that I try to do what I do. But I know on LinkedIn, if you upload a video there, you have an option to say, please automagically make my captions appear. But there's also a prompt to say, let me know when this is done so I can check them before I publish them. So again, I would probably recommend that. Sam, I know you do a lot with burnt-in captions and probably CapCut, but do you have any other sort of tools that you like using or recommend?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're doing a video and you want to do burned in captions, then CapCut is great. It gives you the ability to edit all of those. If you're doing like shorts videos after the fact, there's a bunch of those AI things will create auto captions. Like Opus Clip is pretty good at that. If you want live captions on your stream, there is a service I use that is free service called Pixel Chat. I think it's pixelchat.tv. That's what we use over on Qt Avalanche. And it'll do the best it can. It's, live is not a great place for captions, so that often does not write captions, but it helps a little. If you are a Twitch specific streamer, there is a Twitch extension that I believe is just called closed captions. And the beauty of that one is that it actually will translate to a variety of languages as well. I cannot speak for its accuracy, in any of those languages, but I'm sure it has the same issues as Pixel Chat does.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of tools out there, and I guess I feel like I say this every week, but just find something that works for you. You don't have to try them all out. If you find something, like if the first thing you try works pretty well and doesn't cause you a lot of pain and it doesn't cost an obscene amount of money, just roll with it. It's more important to sort of work on creating the things and sharing them and sort of getting bogged down in that stuff. So this is the video and live streaming show. We're going to talk about answer some more questions. Just a reminder, if you do have any that you'd like us to consider in the chat, throw them in there and we'll address them to the extent we're able to. So let's click a button.
If you've been watching us for a while, or this is your first time and you're thinking, Sam, John, this is great stuff, but I'm wearing a lot of hats already and I don't need to add this to my list of things that I'm doing, but I really want to live stream, I've got you covered. I've been a freelance technical director and stream operator for 20 years, and I can help you either with one-on-one counseling, setups of shows, or even run your whole show for you. Get in touch with me, samproof@gmail.com, or find out more at samproof.tv.
And Sam can certainly help you with those live production services if you need that. Saeed made a great point too, and it's kind of true of most operating systems these days that they do actually have some sort of built-in auto captioning option in there. It's in Chrome. I'm sure it's in Windows. I'm sure it's in iOS, although I don't really have any of those devices. But I mean, there are a lot of ways to achieve things with technology. But again, I would encourage you not to make it too hard for people in your potential audience. So if we don't really want to make people jump through hoops if they are deaf and they still want to experience our content at the end of the day. So yeah, okay, cool. All right, so this is the video and live streaming show. Today we're answering your questions. And a big hello to Tatiana, who's joining us over on LinkedIn. Great to have your company. There's a funny question here about Microsoft Clip Champ. So does anybody actually use it? That's an instant delete app for me after a fresh Windows install. It's funny. Obviously I have really decent video editing software that I know how to use really well. So I'm not really looking for anything new. But to be really honest with you, 15, 16 years ago, I was very much about the Windows Movie Maker. And that's how I started on YouTube. And I used it until I reached a breaking point. And that breaking point was, I think it crashed for the 150th time that day. And I went to a local computer store and I bought Sony Vegas Movie Studio, as it was then known. So, I mean, there are all kinds of options out there. You're again, it's that paradox. We're really blessed by the options, but we're also overwhelmed by the options. But certainly, you can edit a lot of these videos within apps that you're posting to different destinations. You've got things like CapCut. You've got DaVinci Resolve if you want to get really technical and fancy. There are all kinds of options out there, but let's talk about some of these other questions that came in. Okay, this one will get Sam really fired up. So let's do this one. Is OBS a better streaming software than Streamlabs Desktop?
Yes, final answer. Goodbye. Yeah, no, it's again, Streamlabs is one of those, it is built on the guts of OBS. OBS is a open source software. So they did take that and made their own version with sort of a similar user in mind as like a StreamYard or a Restream, although more specifically geared toward gamers. It was, how can we make this an easier software for people to use, and then ultimately add like a paywall to parts of it. So yeah, Streamlabs is easier if you've never done any streaming before and you just want to pay someone some money to actually do what you want to do. I find that it is clunky. The things I really want are definitely behind the paywall, and even then, sometimes not. They don't even exist. Like they've gotten rid of certain functionality to like replace it with other things, and I'm like, but also it is like way more CPU intensive in all of my experiences. Um, and anything you can do in Streamlabs, OBS can do and better. So yeah, OBS is the better software if you have the time to learn it.
I mean, Sam's very passionate about that. I actually had a friend who was dabbling in Streamlabs desktop, and I should note that the desktop software itself is completely free, so you can go and grab that outside of the bundle of the whole other suite of things that they offer. But it really is just for one person sort of streaming and maybe playing some games or sharing some screens. It's interesting, and I think Sam and I probably both identify as control freaks, and it's in a lot of ways, I think Streamlabs desktop is an attempt to simplify the OBS experience. And there are really little subtle things, like if I go into the audio settings within Streamlabs desktop, on OBS, I have two options. I can adjust that by decibel or by percentage. In Streamlabs desktop, I can only do that by percentage. And as someone who's been working with audio stuff for years, I much prefer to work with the decibel numbers. I kind of know what those usually are, so I can just put them in. But there are a lot of different things. But I to be honest, I don't think there's any harm starting with Streamlabs and then checking it out. Like I said, it's completely free. OBS is completely free. Just have a go and see where you end up. But again, it's worth noting that Streamlabs literally started with OBS Studio software. Like it was forked from the open part of OBS is that it is open source, so anybody can have access to the source code and do what they will with it. So there have been a whole bunch of different things that have come out of that. But I mean, try them both. They're both free. If you can download them, if you've got an internet connection, there's really not a lot to lose. Okay, so let's go to another question. Can I use an iPhone as a camera in OBS Studio?
Yeah, so we've actually kind of inadvertently answered this question almost, but Video Ninja, which we talked about earlier in the show, is exactly the solution I would work with for this. You go in and create sort of a broadcast green room, and you can get an invite link and then send that out to whoever your guest is, and they can come in through a desktop or a laptop or an iPhone or an Android phone, anything with a browser. And then you just get a browser source and plunk that into your OBS, and they show up as a video source, even though technically it's like a scene. And that is the easy solution on that. There's other things out there. I think there is like an iOS app that's literally called like OBS Guest or something like that. I don't even know if that still exists. I'm sure there's a bunch of other solutions, but Video Ninja I think would be my favorite because, it's got a lot. It's got a lot of things going on with it, which can be intimidating. But if you want to do like an entire scene within Video Ninja and then sort of have kind of like what StreamYard has, where you have like a link of cameras all in one scene, and if somebody drops out, it sort of auto adjusts. You can do that, or you can grab individual cameras as browser sources and put them into very definitive places. So, which is my preferred method. So yeah, that is how you would do that.
I must admit, I don't really use my phone as a camera very often, although two things happened during the week. One, I was finally sent an Elgato mini mount, which had been on back order for months. And it's just a little stand that you can have a phone and light and microphone on. But the other thing that also happened was that we lost power for about 4 hours. So I actually used my phone and a little light and an external microphone to join a work meeting. And it's not something I use very often, but it is cool that you've got the options. I guess the other thing too, and again, I've never really used it, but I often hear people talk about Droid Cam. And again, that may be more for Android than iPhone in this example, but just think about the things that you've got access to and try them out, because I think there's really no substitute for the practice of those things. I did want to just mention, and again, I don't know how scientific this number is that Saeed is sharing with us, but he writes only 7.3% of the OBS plugins work in Streamlabs OBS, or as Streamlabs Desktop, as I think it's known now.
But also, I don't think that's true at all, because you can't put plugins or scripts traditionally the way they work in OBS into Streamlabs. You have to activate them through the paywall as more like a widget. So yeah, I think that's just a joke. but yeah, I mean, technically, in a sense, that is kind of true, but not really. He also followed up with something related to what we were just talking about, which was, and Elgato has a webcam app for iOS called Epoch Cam. Yes, I forgot about that one. That one's, you don't have to pay for that service. I recall I've used that once or twice at some point, but I definitely did not continue to use it.
Nice. Okay. And again, I don't know who this person is, but I'm sure it's a friend of Sam's on Twitch, is telling me all kinds of fascinating things in the chat, which we won't even get into, but thank you for your company nonetheless. So we're kind of reaching the end of the hour. I don't know, Sam, do you want to go a little bit longer, or for those of you who may be joining us late, we did have some technical issues.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. We have more stuff to go with. If there's questions, we can go on for a little bit longer. Sure.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to be really self-indulgent and ask one that I kind of want to know the answer to. I know, and again, if you don't know Sam has a number of Discords, and he has all these really cool automations. And one of those just lets his audience know when he's going live. So I was really curious if you could talk to us and me about how that actually works.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to go about this. For most of for Twitch streamers, there's probably like 200 chatbots that just basically do this. Like they'll just link to your Twitch, link to your Discord, and then automatically they just have a message that happens when you go live. If you're doing other platforms and you want to get a little fancier, you can do an IFTTT connection. So I'm actually literally was blogging about this earlier today. I haven't published it yet. Should show up next week sometime. But what you would do is create your IFTTT account, link whatever your streaming platform is, and they support most of them and have that trigger. Not most of them. I should say they should support most of the really big ones. So Twitch and YouTube. I'm not sure if they have. I think they have Facebook Live. I don't know if it goes beyond that. And then that would be your if Twitch, and then you go in and you select new live stream from my channel. It might be worded differently. And then you select that, and then you do this, and then this you would add your Discord. You would select the specific channel you want. It'll then give you the option for create a Discord post, create a dynamic Discord post. Either is fine. You don't need to generally go dynamic with something this basic. And it fills in all of the default values of the image and the URL and your channel. And if you're doing a game or category, it'll drop that in, but you can alter that message. And then you can even chain that. So I could have it do that. And then once it's done the Discord, I could have it post a tweet. I could have it post into a Facebook group, and so on and so forth. I could even add some extra nerdy stuff. They now have these sort of queries and filters that let you modify it beyond the if this then that formula. So it's more like if this, but also check for, and then you can have it query an AI to put in a quick customized message that is not the same standard now live on Twitch playing Play World. You can have it generate something small, like maybe it throws in a pun, or some kind of personalized, you know, guys, I really hope you join me. Whatever the AI is going to do, and however you
Hmm.
prompt it, so you can do that and then put that into the final message itself. So that's, I think, the preferred method for me, because it's going to do a lot more than just one message into Discord and be done.
Sure. And so this is the if this then that integration.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put this politely, Sam, but I know you're a very frugal person. Are you paying for those integrations on that service?
So I actually, yeah, full disclosure, I got into the IFTTT ambassador program like 2 years ago. This was the one service that I was specifically paying for, because I was such an early adopter that I got in they had a promotion for, like, if you do it now, it'll be $100.99 per month for life. And I got into that program, and then like a year later, somebody reached out and was like, "Would you like to be a part of our ambassador program?" And I was like, "Yes." Technically, Cute Avalanche does still pay because I have two different accounts. And no, I'm not sponsored, but I am an affiliate. So if you see the blog go up next week, there will be an affiliate link in there. But
And
yeah, you can look
you
to
you were recently on
blog.
their podcast too. So if you
I
go to the
was,
IFTTT
yeah,
channel on YouTube, you can certainly watch Sam get really, really nerdy, even more so than he does on this show.
which is the
We
whole
do.
reason I'm doing the blog post.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we've got a question from Rick. I'm not even going to put it up on the screen because it's really, really long. But
That's cool.
he is asking about using a service called Wirestream and Instagram Live Producer. So I guess the first thing, and I haven't really used Wirecast as such, but the thing about Instagram Live Producer is you need to have that window open on your computer. You send the signal, like you go live in your software of choice, in this case, Wirecast, and then you return to that Instagram window. It's often a good idea to make sure you've got that tab muted. So if the audio does feedback, it isn't picked up by the stream, but you physically need to go in and press a button to let them know that you're there and you go live. What we have noticed about Instagram Live Producer is it has an extraordinary amount of lag. So whatever you think you're doing, probably buffer in some extra time for whatever you're imagining. Don't say something and then cut yourself off immediately, because there's a good chance your
Right.
audience won't catch any of that. I don't know if you have any experience with this software specifically. I'm not really familiar with it, but yeah.
I actually did used to use Wirecast quite a bit. It's been probably 6 or 7 years since I've touched it. So yeah, I don't know. I think probably what's happening. mm, yeah, I don't know. I think the big thing is, yeah, like what John was saying, is with Instagram Live Producer, a few things to keep in mind. Um, when you create that first stream key, it is a one-time use stream key. It has a 5-hour window. So if you don't use it within 5 hours, it automatically resets. When you go into Wirecast, you put in the stream key and you hit start streaming. You have to have left open that Instagram producer window, because you cannot get it back once it's closed. It will start a new experience at that point. So if you've left that window open, you've used the stream key within the 5-hour window and not, previously used it, and you start streaming from Wirecast and nothing is showing up in that producer window, I'm not sure at that point what the problem is.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, in some ways, I mean, I certainly was very excited by the Instagram Live Producer, but my experience of it has been so pitiful that I've just given
It's
up
not
on it.
great.
So I'm
Yeah,
hoping
it's
they'll get better with that in time. But it sounds like, Sam's given you a few things to check, and I guess if all else fails, you might need to go and just have a chat with Wirecast. There might be some extra information that they might have access to that we
Yeah.
don't.
I've done several live streams to Instagram using OBS, and that always works fine. The beauty of OBS is that you can get the ATEM vertical plugin, and then you stream from the plugin itself, not from OBS, sort of. So you can do like a horizontal stream through OBS at the same time as doing a vertical stream through the plugin, and that always works fine. So maybe try that.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. There's another question. So this is a great question. I love this. So how many monitors do you guys use while streaming? 2 or 3? In some ways, I want to say 2.5 because one of them's a tiny little display within my teleprompter. But yes, essentially 3. I've got one to my left that is in a horizontal orientation. I've got the teleprompter in the middle, and I've got one that's portrait on my right. So I've got a lot of different options, and especially if I am trying to maintain the eye contact, I'll probably need to move different windows and things around to the teleprompter one. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm up to. Sam, what about you? What are you using?
I might have to call it 5 technically. So I have OBS over on my left. I have StreamYard in front of me where I can see John and the chat. On the right, I also have a vertical monitor, which if I'm doing my own stream, that's going to be a chat window. But for us, it's our show notes. I then have the LED display for my camera so I can see what my setup looks like outside of that, which is just unnecessary. It's like 4, really. And then I have my phone down over here so I can see live playback. So every once in a while with StreamYard, one of us will like glitch or freeze or something so I can look at the playback and see if that's actually on my end or if it's on John's end or if it's in the middle somewhere, based on if it's also freezing on the phone, because sometimes it'll freeze for me on the StreamYard experience, but not on the phone, which is more of a computer issue. For the kitten cam, we have 2 monitors. One is OBS and one is chat.
And it's interesting because the more the merrier in some regards, and certainly on my new computer I've got sort of 4 display ports or HDMI, and then I've got an additional 2 off a USB hub as well. So I mean, there are all kinds of things you can do. I did see recently on YouTube somebody had a little device that was like a pretend monitor, and like it would be recognized by the computer, so you could use it to maybe have your slides but not use one of your existing monitors and just use that as a virtual monitor. It's so trippy to me because I'm not sure how you would interact with it, but I've heard people talk about them very favorably. I think in a lot of ways, even if you're not streaming, the thing that people on video calls, for example, need to keep in mind is that often when you go to share, you could be sharing an app or you could be sharing a whole window, and you have to be a little bit strategic about what you have on that window and what you have away from that window so you don't inadvertently share something you really shouldn't have. So yeah, and say he's sort of talking about the HDMI dongle. Yeah, so I mean that's interesting. I mean there's so many options, and to be honest, there are a part of me that wanted to get more monitors, but I feel like I've got enough to look at right now, so we'll probably leave it there for the moment.
I also technically have a monitor behind me, which I use occasionally for one specific show, but it's to be like, a slideshow essentially. It's just background image.
Nice. Okay, so this has been the video and live streaming show. If you've got any questions, let us know in the next minute or so. Otherwise, we'll probably start to wrap up. But as we do, Sam, where can people go to learn more about you and what's your content and all that good stuff?
Yeah, head over to samproof.tv and you can find all of my socials at the top left there. Add a /blog to it, and you can find that blog post I was talking about. And if you didn't get enough scan this thing. If you didn't get enough cats today, head over to cuteavalanche.com and find our 24/7 cat cam and join us February 11th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. If I didn't say that, I did say that. Okay. Back to you, John.
And if you want to catch up with me, you can head over to johnlacey.com. I must admit, just before the show went live, I discovered that one of my WordPress plugins had changed, and there's probably a lot of content missing on my website right now, so probably don't spend too much time on here. But if you go down to the bottom of the page, you can certainly find me on LinkedIn and YouTube and all the various places. So come find me and we can hang out together online. But thank you so much for, yes, so here we go. Business Growth Ready knows everything. So these are the headless dummy monitors. So apparently these were used in data centers and sort of server racks and things. But I saw someone recently sort of use it as a second pretend monitor where they could actually put things that they were sharing in a video call, which is really interesting. I don't know if it would work for me, but it's just a fascinating idea. Okay, so all right. So have a lovely week, everybody. And again, thank you so much to Business Growth Ready for showing me that Windows setting that completely fried my audio at the beginning of the show, but we'll try not to dwell on that too much. Have a great week. Check us out wherever you're watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. We'd love if you could hang out with us next week. I don't know what next week's topic is yet, but we'd love it if you'd hang out with us. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.